Hey, good morning, guys. This is Hank. It is July the 28th, 0003. And, oh, sorry about that. Say good morning, Gun. Good morning. And so, I had a series of dreams, lots and lots of dreams, really, really cool dreams. The one I'll just remember I just had just now was I was doing magic, and in order to cast a spell, I just had to rhyme. But let me slow down, take a deep breath here, and remember. Wild dream. I had a dream that I was with Miss Sandy, who is a teacher, or was a teacher, where I teach at. And she came and she got me, and she wanted to introduce me to these people, and she said it was going to make me rich and famous overnight. And I was like, oh, okay. And but it was a little strange, and you know how dreams are. You're not really sure where this place was, but I just remember it was at this big place, and I don't even know how to describe it. It was almost like it was a big amusement park or something like that, or a fairground or something like that. But obviously there were some buildings on this place, and I remember she's like, well, I want you to go down here with me. And I was like, okay. But she was like, but I was like, I need to use the restroom. So I went out and I started looking to try and find the restroom. And they were like, oh, you just go back around, because it was like a little maze, like a little circle. She said, you go back out of the maze. But it wasn't a maze, but it was just how everything was built, just sort of inconvenient. There weren't like direct routes. Everything was sort of wound in like a circle. So you had to go back out, and they would, each person, she said, oh, it was over there and around the corner. You just got to go back around there. And then I went around the corner, and I finally got, and I was outside, and there was these guys on this big, huge tractor truck or whatever, like, oh, you have to go that way and go back around. So everybody was seeming to be sending me in a layer out. And I was like, what is this? And so I decided, okay, no, I'm going to come back. Let me just get this interview thing over that she wants to take me to. But when I went back inside, I couldn't find her. But I found the door that she was going to take me down, and there were these steps, and I went down there. And I went down, and I couldn't really see her or anything. And it was sort of dark down there, and then I started to go back up the steps, and here she was. And it was so weird because Miss Sandy has long, beautiful curly hair, blonde curly hair, and she sort of was like leaning back. It was almost like she's like, I'm ready for my picture, Mr. DeVille. It was one of those type of things, because like the light flashed and I could see her, and she looked like she was just leaning back, letting her hair fall back, which was sort of strange. And so I said, oh, there you are. And then she looks at me, and we go back down, and we get to the bottom of the stairs like this. There's just like a little bench or something, and we sit on it. And she just grabs me in, and she puts my hair to her bosom, and she's like, oh, just close your eyes and just breathe, and something like this. And I pull in, and she started muttering some words to me, and at this point, I'm starting to feel really uncomfortable, because I'm like, what is going on here? So, you guys, I don't know if you know, since I've gotten strange phone calls, letters from places calling themselves society, all kinds of weird stuff. So I'm sitting here thinking, what's going on? And I'm trying to wait to see if I'm going to have to punch her in the gut or knock her over or something, if she's going to drug me or something. But she doesn't. Nothing like that happens. But still, the whole time she's holding me. I'm like, sort of like, just expecting something because my spider senses are tingling like crazy. And then finally, this bald-headed man shows up, and you ever see someone that looks real familiar to me, but you can't remember who they are or whatever. And so then they come and they take me further down into this place, and I think we get on like an elevator or something. And when we get on the elevator, it's not like it goes up or it goes down. It just sort of like vibrates a little, and before you know it, opens up. And we walk out into this huge, ginormous space. And I was like, how the heaven did we get here when we were just, I guess, at this fairground or whatever? Because I couldn't figure it out. And then, but it looked really, really good. And they're like, oh, we're going to do a magic act, and you're going to make the elephant disappear, is what they said. And I was like, oh, okay. So as we walk out into this area, I'm looking left and right, because they walk out ahead of me, and I'm like, trying to see if there's a huge pachyderm out there, because I was like, and then I sort of imagined it grabbing me up around the waist with its trunk and lifting me in the air or something, and, all kind of things just sort of went through my head while, how dreams are. And then, but there was this long rope. It was a rope, but it was two ropes, and it had like an area in the middle, and it had like a padding on it or whatever, but it went straight up and out, and there were these two other gentlemen, and there were these two beautiful women there, and they sort of looked at me, and I had my shirt off. Don't remember when I took my shirt off, and she says, oh, he looks good, he has a good body, he's strong. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm 50 years old, and I need to get to the gym. And then I realized, okay, Hank, because, I used to be a professional dancer, so, of course, if we're not perfect, we think we're just so out of shape or whatever. So, but the bottom line was, and it went across my mind, like, well, Hank, you're in a dream, so maybe it's your younger self. And that's how my dreams are. All this stuff's going through my head. And so anyway, the other two gentlemen, they asked him to climb out on this rope-like thing, and almost like a ladder, but it didn't. It was like a rope ladder, but it had something that filled in between, some type of material or whatever, and it didn't. It seemed really sturdy, like not the kind that you can get on and it would rock back and forth and like you're almost gonna fall. So those guys ran up it really fast, sort of bent down, almost like they were climbing it. And then and the guy asked me, the bald-headed guy said, well, okay, it's your turn, you can go ahead and cross. But nobody's explaining anything, and this area, I'm telling you, is huge. And it's nothing like what was upstairs, and I'm telling you, it looks like we're on another planet. And I'm looking around just to see if there's this huge elephant or what else is out there. And then I start running, I start going up it, and sort of like in the X-Men movie, Wolverine's brother, how when they start running toward each other, he got down and started running like he was an animal, like a dog or something like that. It was two hands, two legs, and I gallop up this thing and get to the very top. And they were like, oh yeah, he did it, and really nicely or whatever. And when I say this place was huge, it was really huge, but it almost seemed like we were inside something, which is why it seemed like the ceiling just went forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, but you couldn't really see the ceiling. It was sort of like gray, but at the same time, you could tell that wasn't the sky. And then I came back down, and so we're like sort of talking about the show, and I'm not really getting any answers or whatever. And just weird. And I don't know, the whole thing sort of spooked me out, but I decided that I didn't want the job, and that I was cool. Man, how dreams are so fleeting. I'm trying everything I can to try and remember what happened in this dream, and I can't sort of remember the whole thing. Or maybe I didn't make it, or I didn't make the audition or whatever. Oh, I did. And all of a sudden we were in this other scene, And there was, somehow I had to use this magic that I had because, like I said, they wanted me to make an elephant disappear. I didn't know how I was able to make an elephant disappear. And it was supposed to be for the crowds or for the audience or whatever. And the guy with the bald head somehow said that I wasn't the right type or something. And I was like, I just don't understand this. How did you make me go through all this stuff? And I did all these things and you don't want me to do this or whatever, and I was sort of like disappointed or whatever. And then I was leaving. At that point, you guys, I still didn't know if I really knew magic or if there was some type of magic in me or something. And somehow we're walking away from the place and we're back out there where we were, up with that place where it goes around. We were out from up under that cavern or wherever we were. And all of a sudden I hear, oh my God, she's loose. And I look back and I can just see this thing sort of shimmer and then come to life. And it was like a little girl. People were screaming and running. And then automatically I went out and I put my hands up and I said, you can no longer come in this direction. This power I sends you has great affection, and it pushes you back. And I'm rhyming or whatever, and she goes back and whatever, and I think she flings her hands at other people that are there, and they either get slammed to the ground or fly out of my vision or whatever. Like she's like some type of powerful thing, and before you know it, I'm throwing all kind of incantations at her, and I'm containing her and backing her up, and I just was like real aggressive at it. Like I just knew this is what I was supposed to do, or I had this power to do this, until finally I contained her and she shimmered back and disappeared out of the space. And everyone was like, oh my God, you did it, and that was so wonderful or whatever. And I don't know, that was just really strange. And all of a sudden they were like patting me on my back or whatever. And I was like, man, I got what it takes to be in that show or to do that thing or whatever. I need to, and they're sort of escorting us out because, as far as they're concerned, I wasn't up to snatch or whatever. So somehow I duck away. And at one point, we walk by this thing and there's like this hole in the ground and I can see down into that space. And then I saw the bald-headed guy and he went under. And then I knew I was in a dream, so what I always do in my dreams, I always fly. So I ducked out of the way and I flew down there and I went to where, like, into the opening of it. And as I was like, my heels were over my head as I went down, like, because I'm flying and I'm floating in the air. And I could hear, this big fat guy, and not like in a mean way, just he was huge and fat, and he had a cane, and he came down, and he was sort of muttering something, and then like the bald-headed guy was already there, and I poked down, and I mean the most disgusting scene you could possibly see. It sounded like they were some type of little satanic ritual thing are going on, and there was this baby, and the baby was like chest down, face sideways, ass up, and the big bald-headed guy was fucking this baby. But if you look at the baby looked like it was asleep or drugged or something, but it just looked like it was laying there asleep, but you can see his head just moving as he was getting pounded. And I was like, oh my God. And I thought satanic ritual something or whatever. And I was like, oh crap, no wonder why I wasn't whatever it was supposed to take to be a part of this thing, because you know how you miss things. And so I just backed up out of that scene, and before you know it, I was out of that dream. And that was wild. That was very, very wild. That was one of the most weirdest, peculiar dreams I've ever had. And now that I've told that dream thoroughly, I forgot the second dream that I had that I was going to tell you. Let's see. I guess if I could stop this and listen to it again, how I started, because I started about the other dream, the second dream that I had. That was just the first one. Anyway, guys. I I just, like I said, I was inspired to write down my dreams when I wake up. And that was the one I just had. And I had another one. If I can think about it, I'll post that as well. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. Love and light. Namaste.